Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, goal!
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host Ollie Fisher, back after a little absence. Delighted to be back and joined by Anthony.
Yeah, I'm here. Won't be next week though. Neither will Ollie, I don't think so.
Yeah, I've got a wedding.
We're going to remove the heads from the logo because none of them have been on the show in quite a while. But you know, we're doing it, so here we are. We got Steph as well.
Yeah, I'm the third one in the pack today, but yeah, it's good to be back. I think it's been 2 weeks. I've missed out now, so we're all sort of the comment section is going to be like furious with. There's no consistency, is there? So
none. Rotation policy, you know, it's served us well so far, but I suppose that's the theme of.
Yeah, it's a squad game, isn't it? So we got.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like pre-season in many ways, isn't it? We'll have a full lineup and then 3 substitutions will come in. But no, it's good to get back on and stuff. I want to start actually because I said I'd do this. This is really random, but before we get into the game and stuff, I actually got given this in the last week and I wanted to show it in case people find it cool. But this is a pennant that was actually bought from the 1963 European Cup final, which Milan won. So I got given that as a gift by someone who I go and watch Huddersfield with. So I said I would show it and say thank you. And yeah, it's class. I mean, it smells like it's from 1963. It smells like fags, basically. That's cigarettes, just to clarify. But yeah, really cool. So I'll find a way to display that when I move down to London and stuff, and I'll have a proper podcast set up. I also bought a poster with all the kits on as well, so looking forward to getting that set up. Right, so we've got a game to recap. I'm leaning on to here a little bit. We're leaning Stefano, should I say, because I was not able to watch the game against Nice. I've caught up on pretty much everything in terms of what happened, but it was, let's say, after 2 pre-season games against Serie C sides where we weren't really tested. You know, we won 6-0 and 5-0. This was our first real test of the summer. Important bit of context, I think, is that this was Nice's last pre-season game. They start Liga next week, which means that they're probably much further ahead than us in their pre-season preparations, and this was their last warm-up, so they wanted to hit match rhythm. And by the sounds of it, they did. They were probably the better side, marginally. But it was a 1-1 draw in the end. The first goal was a penalty from Giroud, I think you say it, who is a really good player. I must say, I do like him. And that was on the hour mark. It took us 6 minutes to equalise. Olivier Giroud scored on his debut with a thumping header in at that went in at the far post. And that is a perfect start for him. I guess we better start with that. Number 9 curse is finished because Giroud scored with his first touch.
I mean, we've seen that a few times with some of these players on there, so I wouldn't say it's finished just yet, but we'll see. As far as Ligue 1 starting, yeah, I think the Super Cup actually is on right now with PSG and Lille. I have no idea where they're at. I'm not tracking the game, but I think it is on. But yeah, for being called Nice, they sure weren't playing nice. They were mean, and I know that's low-hanging fruit, but you got to take it. No, they were dirty players. They looked like a bunch of fucking pricks. I didn't enjoy watching them play. They were just dirty, unnecessary dirty for preseason. And they weren't very good. I know you said that the guy who scored the penalty is a good player, but to be honest, it was an awful penalty and an even worse attempted save. But that's what happens when you sub on your third-string goalkeeper at halftime. Like he's not warmed up in preseason. Like it is what it is. No one cares. Also wasn't really a penalty. There was next to no contact at all from Krunic. So we won that game, but like it doesn't matter. I don't know. Like I want to be upset because it was just an awful game, but it's nothing. I don't care. I was happy to see Giroud get on there, score. That was important. Maldini looked good. But besides that, and Caldara, I was happy with Caldara's performance and Romagnoli. But besides that, the majority of them looks pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, I only picked up the second half, to be honest. So I did miss a bit of what was apparently a bad first half. But yeah, look, they looked a bit more, not so much up for it, but a bit more fitter than us. But at the same time, I saw from what I did see, some good transitions in the final third, like a good interplay from the attacking midfielders. linking up with the centre mids. There was some confidence you could see with what was probably our rotational players like Tonali and Pobega. There are some good signs there, but there are signs for clearly improvement. Giroud's goal, great, because obviously that gets him firing. But to be honest, I think we expected that. We know what we're getting. Beyond the goal, we also saw a lot of hold-up play, how good he is in the air, which is key. And I don't want to be the guy who has to say it all the time, but once again, we are seeing underwhelming performances from players like Rafael Leao. I know it's just it's a friendly match, but at the same time, yes, he started the first half at striker position. He eventually started drifting out to the left, and there were some sort of worrying signs that, he just looked disinterested. The game was sort of below him. But I don't know. That's the sort of things here. But especially in the heat of the transfer market, it gets everyone kind of saying that, why are we selling Haig when we should be selling some of the players on the pitch? But anyway, I'm kind of like I'm going ahead of what we're going to talk
no,
about.
rant away, mate. You're the only one who saw it, so.
It was an interesting game. Not much you can really take away from it other than getting minutes under players' legs. Fair play to Nice, they came up and wanted a bit of a fight. Some of their tackles as well, late challenges on players like Teo. You're thinking it's just a friendly, but at the same time, I'd want the same desire from my team in a preseason friendly, because it's going to allude into what's going into the regular season, which is only a couple of weeks away. So, it wasn't a bad game. It wasn't a bad game. It's just obviously there are certain players that played in that game what we'd like to see be transferred out of the squad this summer. Cassiello, Andrea Conti, Mattia Caldara. So so we'll see from there. But good game.
Yeah, I'm looking at the starting lineup here. Because there's so many substitutions to take note of and stuff. But the important thing to note is the first half we definitely competed, and that's crucial because, as said, they were trying to play this game as if it were their first game of the season. To be proper on it. They pressed high. Must say that they've just appointed Christophe Gaultier as their head coach, and he won the league last season with Lille, and it's a bit of a weird one, but I think Lille are kind of getting slowly dismantled, and Nice have an interesting project, and they have got some good young players. So we did well, really, to battle as we did in that first half, especially when you consider probably in the back four, that would probably be the same, except Kier will come in for Romagnoli, but then we had Tonali Pobega as a double pivot. Come the first game of the season, neither of those two should be starting. Salamakers on the right, fair enough, but Krunic left wing, Brahim down the middle, so those two could potentially change. Another playmaker arrives, and then Al up front, as we know, who will probably move to the left, his more natural position. Only really, only in the next sort of week or so, we're going to start to see, players come back and start getting meaningful minutes under the legs. We've had, obviously, Manyan who signed, but he got an extended vacation because of the Euros. Same with Giroud. There's others as well. So we're cobbling together lineups at the moment. That's how it is. But we've got another interesting test on Wednesday night against Valencia, and then we have a week today. We're recording on Sunday. We've got Real Madrid. So those two will be, interesting games to kind of see where we're at, I guess. But yeah, not too bad. I need, I suppose, to pick out some of the performances just to, say how they got on. This is from what I've gathered. I haven't had chance to watch the full replay back, but you can often gauge on social media, even if they are irrational as a fan base, you can often gauge how players have done. I think praise needs to be given, by the sounds of it, to Romagnoli, who is tackling the pre-season very well for someone who's obviously got a lot of uncertainty about his future. There's been a couple of recent reports saying that he's had an exemplary attitude in pre-season. He's, giving it 100% to get his starting spot back. We know how it is. We've done this topic to death. We've got a 32, will turn 33, Simon Kier, who's currently the starter, but I think he's going to miss games again next season. So Romagnoli will get his time, and defensive depth is important, but it's good to see that he's fighting like hell for his starting spot. I heard Calabria and Teo struggled a little bit. Teo's decision-making was frustrating, apparently. There was a moment when he should have passed after he'd gone on one of his typical runs and didn't. And then Calabria got a bit of a rinsing down the right side. But again, context is important. He's just come back from a knee operation, and that was his first 45 minutes. So it's just a fitness exercise for him.
I'd say Calabria actually for the situation with the surgery, I thought he did fine. You know, it wasn't the type of game we expect from him, but it also wasn't like there was nothing said like, wow, this is awful. You know, it wasn't like the typical Andrea Conte game. It was still solid. As far as Teo, he didn't have the best game, but I don't think it was the worst. There was a point where I tweeted where I was like, Teo, what are you doing, bro? Because I forget who had the ball. Someone was fouled in the box and went down, and the ball landed right at Teo's feet, maybe 6 yards out. And instead of just like running and shooting, he like threw his hands up, calling for the penalty, which we didn't get. And I'm like, I get it, but you don't do that. You know, just take the shot, and if they want to call back the play for the penalty, then they'll do it. But take the shot if you got it, and he didn't. So that was frustrating. But a lot of his poor decisions were honestly going to Liao, who just did not look like he even wanted to be a football player anymore. Like he was walking, literally walking. There's clips all over Twitter, just walking. And I don't even know if he was intentionally doing dummies or he just wasn't trying to receive the ball, but like they would just go past him and he'd just turn and watch it. And so I don't know what his deal is. It was frustrating. Maybe he wants to move out or something, but he's not going about whatever it is the right way.
Yeah.
I think it's only, I've mentioned Liao before, but it also is fair to bring up if Teo doesn't want to approach a friendly game with the right mentality as well, it's fair to sort of critique him as well. He's not exempt from it, despite how great of a player he is, and I know how good he is in the regular season. But you also need to approach, you know, a game and a friendly with the right mentality. I'm just kind of worried that, like, he's a very young and confident player, Teo. He knows he's amazing. I just hope that hype doesn't kind of get to his head, and he feels like in the regular season there's going to be games like that where he feels like he's just not going to give 100% all the time, where he just, I don't know. And then maybe players like Liao are a bad example to play on the same flank as him because he's not going to give 100%. But no, that's a little thing that came off my mind, but nothing really like of concern. Romagnoli, fantastic. He looked really good. He's almost as if he's our captain. He's come into the pre-season with a captain mentality. Looks fitter than ever, I have to say. He's the fittest he's probably looked since like the Mihailovic seasons and whatnot. Proper slimmed down. You can tell in his physique. I think you mentioned it before, Ollie, that him next to Tomori looks good because Tomori goes back to his more natural right foot, right centre back, and Romagnoli stays on his left foot. So it's good to have that option as a rotation. I do believe that. I don't know. I just got this feeling that he is going to renew because there just seems to be no malicious stuff in the background, no rumours, nothing. He's just going under the radar, getting his job done. And I feel like a renewal can be done, you know, even if it's like a 2 or 3 year renewal, just get it done. But it's not like a priority thing at the same time. So I don't know. It's an interesting one. Not like when you compare it to Kessie or so Romagnoli was, you know, looked quite good. Other highlights, I mean, Daniele Maldini. I keep saying Daniele because I think it's
Daniele.
Daniel Maldini. He looked, I don't know if you're going to come on to him, but he looked, you know, good when he came on. And we're seeing like progressions from him from season to season of the player that he might become. And I'm mostly intrigued of how good he does defensively when it comes to, like, say, if we lose the ball and how good he is at the high press, winning the ball back and then creating chances from that press. We know how good that is for us in the regular season. A lot of our goals come from that, especially, you know, opponents giving away penalties and stuff. So he's very good at winning the ball back on a high press. And then obviously he has great technique. So he just really needs to find his feet in what position he lands in. And yeah, I don't know. It'd be an interesting one. And he's obviously still only 19 years old. So he's one to look out for the
I think he's going to start falling further back in the lineup. You know, I don't think he's an attacking mid. Like you said, his defense, it's great. The way he wins the ball back. I mean, there was a part in the last game where they threw a cross in over the box and he got there like out of nowhere, just jumped in and kicked the ball back, and then we were on a counter. It was perfect. I mean, so maybe he's more of like a box to box.
Do you think he's more like I'm saying a left mid? Like, I mean, I'm not saying he's a winger, but could you be like an inverted left mid, like kind of like Salamaker?
Yeah,
to me, he's
kind
a right midfielder.
I can see that. I was thinking more like
he should be a box to box. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I think he's not gonna like more like a Milinkovic Savic type, where, you know, he's getting forward, but he's also falling back, and he's just kind of anchored there. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think he's obviously, you know, the greatest defender of all time is his father, so he's gonna know a thing or two about defense. But I think as he progresses in his career, he's gonna be less attack minded.
I like the shouts of him going to box. The only problem being at the moment we don't play with one, and we're having this exact David Pobega, who's probably 3 years ahead in his development at this stage. It's a tricky one with Daniel Maldini because I don't think he has the physique to drop much further back. I don't think he has the size. He ain't going to bulk up massively. He's not going to turn into this huge unit. Yes, he's 19, so he can grow a little bit more. But with him, I think you see a Brahim Diaz type mould of player. Like the lower centre of gravity, the quick, tricky flicks. He ain't going to barge people off the ball and stuff. But what I do like seeing is the battle in his game and the hustle. And we saw that in that Europa League start that he got against Sparta Prague. I think it was Sparta. Anyway, it was one of the games where he started and he seemed to play a little bit deep, but he's got a knack for winning the ball back that's a bit like Benacer to watch. He just hustles in, he really gets into tackles. So I don't think the shout him becoming box to box. There may be situations throughout the season, as reports are saying from pretty much everywhere, where in-game we switch to a 4-3-3 and all of a sudden he's found a spot. Either that or, and this is the dilemma that the management are facing now, is it really now finally the time for him to get a loan spell somewhere? I know we all don't think it's going to happen. One club man, one club family, all that kind of thing. But there will come a time where Paolo thinks to himself, this is my son's career. I need to do what's best for him. So if the opportunity to loan him to, say, a Monza, where he's going to be protected, he's going to get the good opportunities came up, they might think about it. But otherwise, he's learning from some of the best in training. So I don't feel, he's probably got 2 or 3 years until we can start to seriously judge him and say, what's he going to look like as the finished article? But, pre-season minutes like this are always going to help, I guess. And I was just going to say on the tail thing, and Leao, obviously, the players that perhaps aren't putting in 100% shift in pre-season, I do think to myself, we are missing our Mr. Motivator at the moment. Ibra's not back, and I don't think he will settle for any of that shit. If he were to be playing in pre-season, obviously when the regular season comes around, he's hopefully going to be back for that first game of the season. But no, it's not great to see. At the same time, it's hard when the team that you're coming up against is intent on kicking lumps out here, which I think is what I gather. A few people mentioned basically like blatant refereeing bias. Some of the decisions that he made were really questionable. The penalty wasn't a penalty. We should have had a penalty. A lot of late challenges that didn't get punished. So that's obviously not ideal. But overall, I guess a good run out. I don't think there's too much else to mention, really.
I think in a normal game, I feel like there would have been a lot more yellow cards going to Nice, and they wouldn't be doing I'll say the swear there, but the crap they got away with, they wouldn't be doing that. And they would obviously probably be racking up red cards or yellow cards. So I will say that as well. So it's very hard to sort of look at a friendly like that where they're going to be very aggressive on us and sort of correlate that to a regular season game where, like you're saying, they're ahead in the in the fitness schedule than us. And there's also stuff that you like, even the penalty, because there was no VAR, you can't check it. And it's just the referee, if he's biased or not, going to give it and it's going to stick. So it's very hard to take much away from that. But sorry, you were saying.
Yeah. No, that was it. I was just going to run through the subs that came on, but I'm happy to hear some people say that Caldara had a pretty good last 20 minutes or so. More so because shop window, there's clubs gathering who are interested. I really don't think he has a future here, and I think he knows that himself.
I thought Venice made an offer for him.
Yeah, it sounds like Venezia, I don't know how you would say that. And also Torino now are apparently interested, so... Wouldn't mind sending him to Torino to get Singo coming the other way as the rotating right back.
Well, we're used to trading with Caldara for other center backs, so I wouldn't be too shocked. I'm curious though, because Conte came on in the second half as the captain, and I feel like if he's in the shop window, they wouldn't have gave it to him. Is it just because he was the most senior member on the pitch at the time? Like, I feel like there were actual players that could have got it, in a preseason start like that, as opposed to a guy that's, on the way out.
It's because the armband had shrunk and his arm was the only person who was able to get around.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
I don't know about it. Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch. I don't know. Maybe it was just because I think he's a boyhood Milan fan as well. So probably it's just to give him the armband at that point is sort of hits home. I don't know. Yeah.
Looking at who else was on the pitch, I don't know who you could honestly pick to be the captain, really. Looking at the way that that team ended up in the second half, it's a tough one. I mean, De Jesus, Rebic, who actually came on at the same time, Caldara,
When
Daniel
did
Maldini, Ballatore.
Romagnoli come off?
He came off
'Cause-
for Caldara 70th minute, so it was
Yeah,
at the
70th,
same
yeah.
group of substitutions.
Yeah, because Romagnoli
so-
started with the captaincy the whole way up, which makes sense.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I guess maybe Tatarusanu, which as the most senior player on the pitch. But yeah, apart from that, it's slim pickings, really. A few people have said, and this is just completely random throwaway remark to finish the game recap. A few people have said that for Nice, that Kefren Turam, holding midfielder, had a really good game for them. A few people shouting, because we were linked with him before when we needed a new defensive mid. A few people saying going for him as the fourth choice, and obviously son of Lilian, footballing family, etc. But I can't say that I saw enough to say yes, go for that. But I just thought I'd mention it.
No, he had a good game. Nothing to say like we need to sign this kid or anything like that. I think Nice has done this. They just signed Kluivert as well, Justin Kluivert. So they're used to just signing big name sons. Like who knows? Maybe they'll throw in a bid for Daniel Maldini next. Like I don't know. It's weird. They're looking to build the young Avengers. They're trying to.
Well, they got Walter.
The great players.
They got Walter Benitez in there as well, obviously son of Rafa Benitez.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah.
No, that's not true. That's bollocks.
Oh, okay. I just rolled with it. I was like, yeah, I believe it. Like with the rest of this shit.
Jean-Claude Todibo's there. Remember when we had that old transfer?
Yeah, they had an option for him on like $4 million or something stupid low.
Yeah, that's funny.
How
that all ends up. Also, they brought Mario Lemina off the bench, and he was a name for a while, wasn't he? So they built something interesting there. And
they had Balotelli for a while too.
All I will say is, like I think you mentioned on Twitter, I saw their shirts and thought, oh my God, it's us from 2012-13 with the red and black stripes and the white collar. It looked just like us.
White shorts too.
Love the new away kit. I will mention that as well. It looks very good on Giroud. Really does bring out his tattoos. Right. I mentioned a couple of things. I put down on the list a couple of things to talk about. We've kind of talked a little bit about one, but we'll go for it anyway. Rafael Leao and Jens Petter Hauge. So this is something that we need to sort sooner rather than later. Seems like we're only going to sell one of them. At the moment, it seems like it's going to be Hauge. He was asked to be left out of the friendly against Nice. Nothing official has filtered as to why, but we can presume it's like, he knows he's close to a move, doesn't want to risk injury, probably wasn't going to play meaningful minutes anyway because Pioli hates him. But that's it. It looks like he's going to Eintracht Frankfurt for, I don't know, it might be 10 to 12 million euros. Rafael Leao, as a result, will be taken off the market. We won't be listening to any offers for him. How do we feel about everything there? Like, is selling Hauge the right move? Should Leao be guaranteed of a stay now? Are you happy with the fee that we're going to get?
Yeah, I'm fine with it, to be honest. I really like him. I think he has a future. He's going to become something, maybe not world-class, but he'll become a good player in the future, and I would like it to be at Milan. But what we talked about earlier today, Ollie, you and I think it makes sense. I think these low-cost investments for quick flips, I mean, what did we buy him for? We bought him for
$4 million.
$4 million, and if we're going to triple that in a year, I mean, how can you say no to that? You can't, especially a club in our financial situation. It's the fastest way to get us back in the green. So I'm all for it, and I think we're going to see that more and more often because that making moves like that is how we can reach that point where we can spend big money on a player without having to consistently qualify for competitions. Because in today's game, like there's no guarantee we're going to have Champions League next season, let alone the year after and the year after. So if we want to get there, we got to start making these smart investments and flip them. So I'm okay with it.
I've seen the word sacrifice used a lot by the media, and it does feel like that, doesn't it? I don't think it's that. I mean, if you look at the vast majority of comments from the fan base, there's a lot of people who are against the sale of Hauge. Not necessarily because he's shown something to suggest that he should be our starting left winger or whatever, but because we saw signs from him last season. He's young. It was his first season in Italy. Obviously, Leao's had an extra season. Likeable kid. He's kind of had a bit of a dream situation. Only moved in October, remember, because of how late the transfer window went that time. And yeah, people sort of saying that this is a hard one to sell to us. Stefano, how do you feel?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I mean, I covered this in a few videos actually I've done for you guys. Said it actually on last week's one that I can see before even the rumours of it going through the weekend was that I could see Hal getting sold and Liao staying because there's not going to be a massive overhaul when I attack this late into the window. I don't think it's also good for us either. Liao gets away with it because, and also this is another one I've said constantly, been sort of berating Liao's mentality, and it's kind of come back at me saying that he's young, all these sort of things. I love Haug's mentality in comparison to Liao's mentality. That's one thing I'll say from the get-go. Problem is that Liao looks just like generically like a better player. He just looks more of like a crisper player. Technically, his size, his length, his speed, he's just built very well. And also then, where are these bids for him? So it's sort of like, I reckon it was going to be one of them ones where like the first bid that comes in is going to be the one that tempts us. And Eintracht were obviously probably quite hard to press with it with Haug. And obviously then you look into like, is this Haug ready to go and call it a day for Milan? Yeah, it's not great, but at the same time, I don't want 3 left wingers when we need another right winger, when we need another attacking midfielder. You have to make these sort of sacrifices to reinvest back into the squad because we spent near enough 60 million euros in the transfer window, probably the highest amount in Serie A, within the top 5 in, I don't know, the top 5 leagues. So people can't critique the amount of money being spent by management. It needs to be done. And I know it's horrible. And because as fans, we like to say, oh, if he moves on. And then, I can't wait for Twitter next season to give me Eintracht stats with Haug when he's scoring a couple goals a season. Like, it's bound to happen. But at the same time, environments change and all these sort of things are different. I just feel like, once again, this is just a business decision. We looked at him when he played against us. We kind of thought, all right, he's 19 years old. He looks really good. We can go to a club like Bodo Glimt and spend, 3-4 million euros, buy him very cheap and flip him on a profit. And you've got to consider it. How many games did he really play last season to get this sort of profit? Double and a bit the money we spent on him. He spent, he played the Europa League games and he kind of like didn't even play the knockout games. Bit parts in the league when players were injured, but when really had the first 11 back or even like the first 16 players back, he was out of the squad and he wasn't really getting serious minutes. So for a club like Eintracht Frankfurt to look at him and go like, we'll double your money and then some. It goes to show you how this system works, even if the player's just going to be like part of your squad as opposed to a key part of the starting 11 or even the second string side. So it's a shame because, like I said, let me roll it back. That I love Haug. I love his mentality. I feel like the kid is, destined for good things. I'm just not sure if it's in this league or wherever it might be. But unfortunately it's just not with us. So if he does go on, then good luck to him. And hopefully that money is spent in other departments and gets us closer to being a more rounded squad.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, you look at Liao, you look at how much he cost us, you look at the number of performances or number of appearances he had in his performances. You could argue his value may have gone down. So the offers we get like that, we might break even, we might make a little bit of profit, but selling him over Hauga when you could get triple your money versus maybe +1 or whatever it would be, it just doesn't make any sense. So you got to bet on Liao and sell Hauga. So anyway, especially if we are spending so much already, like we got to balance the books out.
With Liao, I'll round up quickly before I go back to you. Liao, I feel like this is his last season. I'm sorry, but this has got to be the season where he shows us something more. Like show us something, like, because he's not a centre forward and he's not an attacking midfielder. So all right, so we're going to facilitate you to be a left winger. Then master that position. Like do the best that you can in that position. Do more than just beat a man. You need to show a lot more. Like show that you can do some stuff in between the lines. Connect a bit more with the attacking midfielder or the centre mids. And don't just like sort of float in and out of games. He has to do a lot more. And I kind of getting fed up with the fact that he's just young. He's had, this will be his 3rd season, I think now.
Yeah.
3rd season now. He's very, that's enough to be accustomed to the league. So let's just see it. And I'm hoping the Champions League gets the best out of him. There's usually in Champions League, there's a lot more opportunities for high presses to him to expose teams of his pace. So he might be a player that's made for the Champions League a bit more than he is for Serie A. And maybe Rebic can sort of play those games instead. But I don't know. He's on the clock, basically.
He certainly is. If it were up to me, if it were my decision, I'd be taking the money back on Liao and keeping Hauger around a little bit. Yes, his value is in 12 million for. That's all great. But I think it has the potential to go up even further. And with Leao, the one thing I will say is you can make excuses about youth for ability, saying he's going to refine that particular part of his game, but you can't make the youth excuse for mentality, for attitude. That should be there no matter how old you are. In fact, if anything, the younger you are, the hungrier you should be. I don't want it to sound like some generic dig about, oh, he's lazy, blah, blah, blah. But I think people are cottoning on to it more and more now that his tendency to drift in and out of games is not good enough for a €28 million player. As for Hauge, I think it's important to look at it objectively and to say, we seem to have landed as a club in this intermediary kind of project. Me and AJ talked about it earlier, where we are signing young players with high potential with the hope of developing them either into our future core, or if they're not quite up to that standard, then we will sell them on for a profit. Essentially, their asset worth isn't going to depreciate, it's only going to go up. And that's what Hauge's perhaps the perfect symbol of that. We signed him for a few million. We saw the potential in him. He has developed in that 1 year. He will have learned a lot from playing in Italy over playing in Norway, no disrespect to the Norwegian league. And his value's tripled. And now a Bundesliga team, Bundesliga sides tend to be really good at spotting talent. We've seen RB Leipzig hoovering up talent. Eintracht Frankfurt have a pretty good eye themselves when you think about Jovic, Haller, some of the players that have left there for big sums. And I think that the Bundesliga is a better league for young players, particularly young forwards, to thrive. So this for Eintracht, they'll probably be looking at this as a low-risk investment. 12 million is not an awful lot of money when they've received 40 million for several players, 60 million for Jovic. And so they'll bank on him. And I think we need to be, as a fan base, for Hauge to go there and be a massive success. I really hope he is, because I think it'll be better suited to him. They'll give him the minutes that he needs to develop. He's playing in a league where I think he's going to have a bit more fun. He's not going to come up against a closed defence every single week. And I really, really, genuinely wish him the very best. On a non-objective note, when putting emotion into it, it's quite disheartening, really. It's one of those things where I think if you rewind to when he joined and there was a lot of hype about it, he scored that screamer at San Siro, he completed his dream move. He was sort of the kid, this is what we all wanted growing up. We wanted to get the chance to move to a top club because you've done it on it's storybooks. What do I mean? Comic book stuff, and then there was the picture of him like learning Italian on the flight home and stuff. And you thought, this kid's gonna, and then he scored a couple of winners in the Europa League group stages. Was actually our top scorer in the Europa League group stages. I came off the bench against Sampdoria for his big redemption moment and earned us a point. That would end up being his last kick of a ball for us all season, which is a baffling one to me, that he didn't use him at all after that in the final 4 games. But with that kick, you can argue that, that was the point that led us into finishing in the top 4. Yeah, there were other goals, obviously. But, and yeah, here it is. That's it. The dream dies after less than a year, His Milan career is going to be over, and now he goes to Germany. And as I say, I genuinely wish him the very best of luck. I speak to his dad fairly regularly. I had to get that in there, and I really hope that he does incredibly well. And now the pressure's on the management. You've done something that's quite divisive, so you need something to get us back on side now, which I know is quite fickle, but that's the nature of football fans. It's not what have you done all, it's what have you done really lately. And people are starting to get a little bit antsy about the playmaker situation, about not bringing in a right winger, and maybe a third striker, 4th defensive midfielder, backup right back. There are still obvious holes in the squad that need addressing. This may free up some liquidity for us to go out and spend a little bit now. It's not necessarily like 12 million's going to buy us 3-4 players. It's more just it releases the pressure valve a little bit with regards to financial fair play. And yeah, to bring it all full circle, that's our strategy now, really. Low cost, low risk investments that are hopefully going to increase in value, and that makes our financial health as a club look a lot better. Probably artificially so, because it isn't necessarily that our revenues have massively hiked. It's more so a cheat code to make it look like we're doing more sustainable and virtuous things on the transfer market. So yeah, that's it. If this is the last time we mention Jens, then good luck to you, pal. So there's not even any signings that we're really close to. I was going to try and recap the Caio Jorge situation, but I don't think I'm going to bother. I'm just going to say that we were led. The media ran rings around us saying that we made a bid, we've agreed personal terms, blah blah blah, and then Fabrizio literally 10 minutes ago just gave the here we go. He's going to Juve. I ain't gutted. I'm not particularly gutted. I can't pretend that I knew him a month ago. But now that begs an interesting question. Are we going to move on to a different profile for the third striker? There was a guy called Colo. Oh, I've forgotten his name. A guy from FC Nantes who was linked. A guy from Toulouse who's been linked. Seems like we're going for that young, 18, 19, 20, 20, whatever, how old, Mulbro, alongside Ibrahimovic and Giroud. And yeah, I guess my name's going to come out on that front. But apart from that, there isn't an awful lot transfer news-wise. It feels like August is going to be the month of opportunity that keeps getting talked about, where clubs try and offload players to free up wages, to free up, obviously, funds for them to go out and get targets that they need. So I think there might be a bit of movement. I think, for example, Man United probably cave in on Dalot and end up giving him back to us. I think we maybe get a cheap deal done for Bakayoko, and that's the fourth midfielder slot sorted. But it's definitely the number 10 that people are most bothered about. Oh, and then Ilicic, who may or may not be permanently joining. Sounds like we're trying to bide our time with that one a little bit and get him on a very cheap deal. I've been vocal on Twitter about how I really didn't want us to sign Ilicic because his last half season at Atalanta is just a huge red flag. Like, he fell out with the coach, I think he was battling some stuff off the field as well, which doesn't help, but it clearly impacted his game. He actually got subbed on and subbed off, I think, in one of the games, which is never a good sign. But he does know Serie A well. He's 33, which is a bit of a downside. We've just talked about buying young players and stuff. But I don't hate this if he's to replace Castillejo.
Yeah, it's a great move. I think all of your worries are kind of unfounded, to be honest with you. Like the off the field stuff is true, but it's over. So I don't think that's an issue anymore. Arguing with Gasparini, if anything, that's a plus. Like if you get along with that guy, you're probably a piece of shit human. So I'm all for it. I think that's great. And 33, we just signed Giroud at 35, and he scored a goal in 3 minutes. So we're all happy about it. So I don't think 33 is an issue. I think if we want to look at what our objective is, are we realistically winning any trophies next season? Probably not. But are we going to be trying to compete for those? Or, are we building something else? Like, I think that's where we got to weigh in this youth versus experience project. And what is our end goal? Are we just trying to get these opportunities like that? Like, if he's forcing a move at 33, we'll get him for $3 million, on the last day of the window, something like that. And that's great. I don't think we need to worry about a backup striker or a third string striker. You could argue injuries or whatever, but we were without striker for a lot of last season, and we did just fine with throwing in Rebic and Leão rotating. Maybe you could argue
they were shit though. They were rubbish up front. Like, we can't be left.
And yet we still scored multiple goals every game. I'm just saying, like it's not the most necessary thing to have right now. If we're looking at this season as, okay, now we need to just qualify again, and then next season we're magically going to be healthy enough with all these money moves we're making, and we could actually get a real player because we know Zlatan's not going to play till he's 44. He's going to probably be done after this season. I think we should look into a real striker at that point, because we can't rely on next season, if we do have Champions League a second year in a row, on a 36-year-old Giroud and no one else. That's when we go for a big player. So to get a teenager now does nothing for anyone, unless we're going to flip him again and then sign a real player afterwards. I don't know. But I think we should focus on the right wing and the attacking midfielder position. I don't think a striker is necessary.
I wouldn't hate necessarily get it. We got linked with by a couple of journalists, Alexander Sorloth, and I'm not saying that he's like the guy, but I don't hate the idea of bringing in a third striker on loan. My problem is this. I know what you're saying. There are other areas that need prioritising. I totally agree with that. But Zlatan's 39, will turn 40 next season. Giroud, 35. Giroud definitely gives more physical guarantees than what Mandzukic could. However, if one of those gets injured, no longer has a striker on the bench. That can't happen. You know, we can't have. Let's say Ibra goes down, which is probably going to happen. We've got Giroud starting then twice a week because we're playing 2 games a week, and nobody that we can throw on in the 70th minute unless you're going to throw Leao on, unless you're going to put Rebic up front. I don't really like that. Seen some people say, why not we just keep Colombo around? Well, we haven't. We've loaned him to Spal. He scored twice on his debut for them. I hope he does well there, just as an aside. But that's where I'm like, maybe we just, if we can get something last minute, be it a loan, be it a cheap deal, maybe just that bit of cover would serve as well, because we're going to be playing 50 games next season. 2 strikers over the age of 35. Chance of us not having one on the bench when one of them inevitably gets injured. I don't like it. Like I would be worried about that.
For a young striker, like an 18, 19-year-old, I don't want it to be a permanent deal. I'd like it to be a dry loan. And the selling point for us is, look, they're not going to play a whole lot, but they're going to be learning under 2 of the best strikers of the generation. Like, that's your development fee right there. We just need another body just in case.
Yeah. Jovic. Jovic is apparently available. I know people don't like him, like they're not sold on him. I don't think he'd be an amazing fit for Serie A, but just as an example of an opportunity that we could seize. The Soloth thing was interesting because the season before last, he banged in 28 goals, I think, for Trabzonspor. I know it's the Turkish league, but he's 25. And then he moved to Leipzig, and now Leipzig have just signed Andre Silva, and they signed Brian Bobby from Ajax. So all of a sudden he's now 3rd choice, and they're looking to loan him out. And I'm just thinking something like that, where we can get in another target man, I would be okay with. But I totally understand those people who were saying that there are other things that we need to focus on, because we absolutely do. We need another playmaker. We need another. But there's nothing really solid in terms of links. I mean, the Ziyech thing keeps popping up. I'm really hoping we get something done there. But the downside to that is, if we do, it's probably going to be the last couple of days of August.
Ziyech had a howler today in his friendly against Arsenal.
Bad miss, or? Yeah,
so Pulisic threw a great long ball over the top. He lands right at Ziyech's feet, and he chips it over the keeper, lands right at his feet again, wide open on goal, and he doesn't shoot. He waits a little bit. Defender gets in front of him. He shoots, hits the defender, deflects right back to him, shoots it again, straight at the keeper who just ran back.
No.
Not the best.
He's doing his agent Ziyech is doing a job for us.
Exactly,
He's trying to get his move out. Did you see that Bayern Munich guy, the Joshua Zirkzee, who rounded the keeper and tried to walk it in, and the defender tackled him? That was funny. He was at Parma last season, him as well.
That's what you get. Walking it in is so disrespectful. Just shoot it. I don't care if you're in it.
I remember when Balotelli did that thing when Mancini was Man City boss. You know, he did like and they got subbed off. Yeah.
Awful. I was gonna say, like, literally agreeing with you guys on all these sort of like targets and the positions. Colombo wouldn't have been loaned. I had to write this down because there's so many positions around to cover it. Colombo wouldn't have been loaned out if we weren't going to get a 3rd centre forward in. I do feel like that's a move that's going to happen in the last 2 weeks of the window, depending on like the analysis on Ibra's injury. I feel like it depends, regardless if that's going to be a young profile or potentially a loan deal for someone like a Jovic, for example. If it's more serious, if Ibra's injury or something like that, the recovery might be another month and a half, then go for a Jovic, because we're going to need backup straight away. If it's not so bad, then get a younger striker for like a couple mil, like similar to the Caio Jorge deal that didn't go through, but find someone in France, for example. And quickly going on that Caio move, if he wants to, like, there's no way we're going to take him. He's earning €2 million a year at Juventus. Like, to say he's going to be earning more than Teo Hernandez and Benacer, that's ridiculous. Like, but they can have him. They can have their inflated salary structure. That's fine. He's probably never going to play for him anyway. So whatever on that one. Ziyech,
he'll be at Swallow in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't it?
100%.
He's not going to
in some dodgy swap deal.
Yeah,
100%.
Something stupid
to cover the rest of the Locatelli fee that they're probably going to have to require to spend. I think Ziyech is going to potentially come. I've kind of got a strong feeling on that one. I don't know why. Ilicic, I like it. I'm going to stick with AJ on this one. I like the move because it kind of smells like a Cassano-like signing. Someone who was, sort of given up on. I'm not saying he was given up on. You've got to think half a year is not much, really, He signed Shahanoglu when he didn't play a game of football for half a year. Ilicic is still training. He's still, probably as fit as ever, but he just needs to be kicking the ball a bit more frequently. And he's someone who knows the league. He's a good player, and he can play in the sort of attacking midfield position. I like to see him a bit more there. if we can play him at right wing, I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe someone has to explain to me why people constitute him as a right winger. I don't think he's a winger in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't get that either. Especially with his age now, like he's losing a bit of his pace. So just stick him in the number 10 role. That's fine.
As if he's going to track back like Salamakers. Like, I just can't see it. Like,
but then again, under Gasparini, like he was the one player who was constantly singled out for not quite making enough effort, and that makes me think: is he really going to be good for us? But
he's probably the only player not on steroids.
Probably, yeah. If you look at his size, maybe in games where we're chasing it, like against the bottom 10 side, they've got a sneaky goal against us, and we want to put a bit more attacking impetus, and we don't really care about defending. Helping collaborate out in the defense, for example, then you stick on Ilicic at right winger to, keep players like Brahim and centre attacking mid and, just like hound down the other side. And he's quite good for that. But I like Ilicic. I do agree. I think Dalot's coming back on a renewed loan deal because we're just going to sneak it because Man United are going to want to get rid of him. And
they also might be signing Trippier as well, by the way. So.
Oh, really? Oh, well. Yeah. Well, they got Wan-Bissaka and Trippier, then, they're going to get rid of Dalot. Which I'll be happy to see him come in. But I think the next 2 weeks, maybe the next week and a half, we're going to be seeing hopefully some player sales. We talk about Haug, hopefully shipping out Caldara, Conti, hopefully, fingers crossed, with Samuel, can get the hell out of here and go to Spain. And then that's going to be the domino effect of the market. And then we'll see in the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I know people like to see moves happen sooner and the squad, ready by the start of the season, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And we've mentioned it previous times on the podcast that, it's not, still a month is a long time to go. Heck, if you talk about when Galliani was running things, you give him 5 days and you'll get someone in. You'll get, 3 players in. A month is a hell of a long time. And Maldini's out there partying Ibiza, and we know what that means. So.
Oh, he's talking to Messi, 100%. Apparently Messi's on holiday in Ibiza and people were laughing. No idea who he's meeting.
To Barca's training camp today because he's a free agent still, so he's like, I don't need to work. I mean,
that's so funny to me, but he's just not asked. Yeah,
he's like, I'm the greatest player ever. I don't need to show up for this. Like,
we'll get that deal signed and then I'll start showing up again. But yeah, on the market, I know I used this analogy so many times, but when you're building a jigsaw, you cannot put all the pieces in at once. But as long as it makes a good picture, then you don't really care. And sometimes the last piece can be the most satisfying to put in. So let's hope that that's the case for our market. Right, I'm going to ping through some questions. Andrew Bauer asked 4 pretty interesting questions. I'll pick a couple of them out. Would you be concerned about Milan's defence next season if Tomori's not in the lineup for some reason?
You cut out on me. What?
Sorry. Would you be concerned about Milan's defence if Tomori was not in the lineup for some reason?
No. I think I saw enough from Romagnoli to think he's going to do a part, be it off the bench or starting. And if Caldara stays, which doesn't sound like it is, but I think he looked, fit enough. Kabia's been in every preseason game, be it right back or center back. So I think we got enough depth to where if we have an issue, it'll be hopefully short-lived, but I'm not too worried. Plus, Mignon did a great job. We didn't actually touch on him in his debut, but he had a fantastic close save. I was really happy to see his performance. So I'm fine if we have a little injury here.
I'm just so behind him as well. Like, some players come to like, it's a dream to be here, blah, 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 smiling. He is just like the most serious looking bloke, as in like, I'm good enough to be here. I'm going to do great, and I love that. He's got a badass attitude and I just love it. Like I'm proper. I can't even spell Donnarumma's name anymore. I've forgotten him. He's gone and now we've got our guy. Yeah.
Just to keep building on that, like, you look at him and you don't get like this, I have big shoes to fill aura. You get this aura of like, you got some new shoes now. Like, these are my shoes, and I'm about it. I'm really happy. I was watching that friendly and I was thinking, you know what? I might buy Giroud on the away kit and I might get Mignon on a goalkeeper shirt. I've never bought one.
Mate, what? Stop it. Just buy. No, the curse thing that shirt printing has for you. Just buy Samu, please. He's gone.
Yeah. I mean, I can't. I mean, it depends who we're playing. Like Tomori's great. Against Gates players with a bit of speed and whatnot. Let's not kid about it. Kai is still a fantastic centre defender. We saw him in the Euros. Romagnoli looks fitter than ever. Gabbia still has a part to play in our squad. And yeah, like Mignon, he was fantastic from what I saw in the highlights of what I saw in the first half. I was going to say as well, he's not afraid to shout at his defenders. Like, I think like Tonali lost the ball, they had an opportunity, he was screaming at Tonali, and you got to think he's only known him for about a week. But Romagnoli with his tackle, like on the counter attack, Romagnoli got the tackle in, and he sort of like chested him. He was like,
it almost knocked him over.
Bless him, he's lost a bit too much weight, Romagnoli. But like, he's proper like getting himself involved in the squad, and that's really good to see. You can see he just doesn't really care about the shoes he has to fill, and he's serious, and we want that. We don't care about someone who's going to be quaking in his boots about the player he just took the position over. But I like what I see. But yeah, anyway, our defense is fine. It's probably the best position of our whole team, most solid position.
Yeah. I was just thinking if we signed Ilicic, we'd have Ilicic, Rebic, and Maignan who could potentially fill the "they might be serial killers" vibe, because they're just fucking like, genuinely look like they could have killed someone. To answer that question, I agree. Like, it does depend who we're playing.
Yeah.
I would like to think that we have the depth to be able to cope with that. However, I think the question is more coming at it from a tactical point of view, and we must acknowledge that Tomori is very important to the way that we play now. We've seen since January a higher line, he's more aggressive, he challenges the ball player, and I think that is very important to us. But, if it were a 1 or 2 game situation, you got to remember Romagnoli and Kier had a fantastic post-lockdown run where they were, but our defence kept 5 clean sheets to end the season. So Romagnoli started in one of those. I think it was the 5th last game. So got to hope that defensive depth is fine to be able to cope with that. Andrew, again, if you were to judge Leao's skills and attributes, excluding his speed, what would you say? So I'll start with this one. I think his speed is his main weapon, and without it, he's not actually a great footballer. But then it's like saying, well, if you take away Messi's dribbling, or if speed is you either have it or you don't, and he is rapid when he gets going in isolation with the defender. His dribbling is good when he's got open space, but I think sometimes his technique in crowded spaces against closed defences, blah, 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 leaves a lot to be desired. My hope with Leao, since we're going to keep him now, is that he just refines himself to the extent where he can be consistent over a full season. We've seen him in the first half of last season do fantastically. And he sort of had his explosion in that first season as well when he scored that amazing solo goal against Fiorentina, and we were like, oh my God, what have we got here? I just want to see consistency throughout the season, and if that means that he gets 8 to 10 goals, 8 to 10 assists, whatever, and he's chipping in consistently, then I'd be okay with that, because we know that Rebic offers something that bit different. He's a very, very hard worker, very important tactically to the balance of the side. He has that chemistry with Teo. They might be a pretty complementary pair of options on the left.
Yeah, I'm gonna cop out and just say I agree.
Solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's got a sweet finish on him, I have to say. It's a shame he's not more competent in attack, and he's kind of scared to get involved with centre defenders, because he's got a great shot on him. He's got a clean shot, Leao, whether it's, the inside of his foot, those sort of top right angles, or if he can sort of hit it clean from a dangerous, powerful shot. He's got a good shot on him. I just think you kind of want to see him get involved in more positions where he can have those chances. If he could attack the opposition right back and then cut in and sort of kind of like what Aubameyang does, and he go in for those top right shots of the goal, but he just doesn't get into those opportunities. That's him. That's what he's lacking. But I would say that's probably his best attribute. That and it's speed, isn't it? I guess. But
and smiling when
smiling.
He's
good. He's actually surprisingly good in the air as well. He's
he
not
is
bad from headers, but he just needs.
He will never score many headers.
I was going to say, he's not someone that if the cross comes in, he's not going to be back post, like the Giroud goal. But he's someone that if you got a goal kick and you want him to knock it down,
he'll do it.
He'll do it. But yeah.
No, I agree with that. And one thing that I really want him to improve on, as you touched on there, is just his movement. He needs to know the places to be in to do the things that he's most dangerous at. And I hope it comes. I think it will. It's a better pre-season to be able to prepare. He's not been away anywhere, so. And I will ask this question now from Ahmed because it's kind of linked. While Leao failed as a lone striker, do you think there's a possibility of playing him as a second striker? Now, when Ibra first joined, we actually paired them two up front together, and it looked really good. That was when we were struggling to score goals, but Leao and Ibra together looked like they complemented each other well. I'll start with something that's addressed to everybody who's saying that Ibra and Giroud should start together. Shut up. Like, that's one of the daftest things I've ever heard. Let's just, what do you want? Do you want us to play 4-4-2 and just get the ball wide and cross it in? We are not Barnsley. We are not Oldham Athletic. That's not how we're going to play football.
Milan of 2004.
Mike Bassett's Milan. But what I would like to see, if we do try that 4-2-2-2 like formation, we go with anything that's two-striker formation, Ibra Leao, I think it looks good, or Giroud Leao, or even Ibra Rebic, Giroud Rebic, target man, and perhaps somebody who's more capable of running in behind for those flick-ons and for being there for more direct stuff. I think that would work better than Ibra and Giroud up front, who will both be occupying the number 10 position because they drop in too much. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. That's what I said at the beginning of Ibra's first season. I was like, oh, Leao's going to be second striker. Like, we got that problem solved, and it looked great. And then all of a sudden, we just kind of stopped using it, and there's never really an explanation as to why. I don't know. I think Leao looked best as a second striker as opposed to a left winger or a lone striker. So, I would like to see it again. And yes, to what you said about Zlatan and Giroud, the exact same player, you can't do it.
No. Yeah, definitely agree with that. Zlatan and Giroud, absolute nonsense if that was the case. Even we just talk about the injuries before. Imagine you play them all the time as a starting two centre forwards, and who do we have coming off the bench? You don't, anyway. But
if we do that, then sign two more strikers.
Exactly. But Leao, we just we don't play a formation that acclimatizes him to play supporting striker role, but then that's just purely think of alternatives to get the best out of certain players. So let's say if we sign a player like Ilicic, I wouldn't be imagine like a 4-3-2-1 formation, similar to how Milan fielded in the 2007 Champions League final. You have the two Seedorf and Kaka behind the centre forward. So you play the centre forward, then you'd have Ilicic and Leao behind the centre forward, and then I wouldn't mind seeing a midfield three of Kessie, Benacer, and Tonali, or even throw Pobega in there. That would still keep the midfield strong, and then also you've got the bomb and wing backs going up there. Then you have the centre mids to kind of give defensive cover. But that's the only situation I can see Leao getting into that position. But we know it's his best, probably his best position he could play in, because we've seen it before. But unfortunately, we don't have a formation that acclimatizes that. So it is what it is.
Interestingly, people have pointed this out before. When we're in possession, we tend to switch to a 3-4-1-2 of sorts, or we did anyway when we had Hakan, because obviously you've got Teo pushing up and you've got the double pivot. But second half of both the seasons he's been here, when Rebic has been on a tear, he struggled in the first half of both seasons, and then from then on he's ended up scoring 11 goals. But he gets those goals because he gets in positions like a second striker would. People have pointed out in the past, tactical analysis and that kind of thing, that he plays more off the shoulder of Ibra than anything else. And I think he's best doing that. And then you've got Salamakers, who very much stays wide, drifts in occasionally, but it just doesn't occupy the same position. So it works quite well. So we'll see. So Andrew asked, basically, it's almost out of date already because Hauger's gone, but he said, what do you think about offering Leao, Hauger and money to Fiorentina in exchange for Vlahovic? Now, take the speculation out of that and just say that the rumours about Vlahovic have resurfaced in the last couple of days because he may or may not sign a contract extension. His deal runs out in 2023. Fiorentina, we know what they're like as a club. There'll probably come a time when it outgrows them. They're going to try and protect themselves with a release clause or something. But just interesting because AJ mentioned earlier about putting off the pursuit of a new striker. We're going to need to replace Zlatan probably next summer. I think he's going to retire at the end of this season. Some saying that he wants to make the 2022 World Cup, which will probably mean him playing an extra season after that. But I just don't see it, not after the knee injury and stuff. We'll see. But ultimately, we do need a long-term, this is our number 9 guy. Vlahovic, we'll see next summer, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to make that move happen like this summer somehow, which I don't foresee, if we make that move happen this summer, then I'm happy with it. You know, that's our future there. That's not just like a young player to just add a body to the roster. That's an actual player for the future. So that would be great, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it might be another season or so.
Be hilarious if we brought Vlahovic in for 50 mil to be a third striker.
Yeah, exactly.
The poor guy.
Also, I'm a bit sort of, with spending that much money for a centre forward, I just get sort of PTSD from Piontek. Like, so I can't I want to see another season with him at Fiorentina. Hopefully he can be an absolute, bastard and not, renew his contract to take it to another year left on his deal. And then it gives us more advantageous positions to then sign him next summer when we know what he's like. He's got 2 seasons under his belt in Serie A. We know he's like prolific. I just don't want to bank it on what was 1 season where we've seen it before. And yeah, like I said, we just signed Giroud. He looks okay. I don't feel like we need another player in that sort of caliber. We just need someone in a bit more of an understudy position. But
didn't he just score like 7 goals in a friendly the other day? Something stupid.
Yeah, but against
a made up club.
It was against a radio station or something. They were playing like radio something. I'm like, oh my god, they just dragged a load of like interns out of the office to play against one of the best number 9s in the league. Poor guys bullying them.
LBC with Nick Ferrari in goal or something.
Yeah. That would be really funny. So we'll end with 2 questions from Jake. Jake always sends in some crackers, as everyone does. No favoritism here. Should Kalulu be loaned out? So that's point number 1. We've talked about this in our group chat quite a bit. I feel a bit for Kalulu and Gabia, because we're all hoping that they don't play much next season, which sounds kind of backwards. That would mean that we're in an injury crisis. However, Gabia's 22, Kalulu's 20 or 21. They're in a position now where they're entering a crucial phase in their development. And as a centre-back, the best way to develop is obviously to play minutes. You get your positional awareness that way. It's different to training in terms of the intensity, battling against proper shithouse centre forwards like Mattia Destro and stuff week in, week out. So I'm going to say yes, I would loan Kalulu out, but that's provided we sign a backup right back. If we don't, for whatever reason, if whatever falls through, I think he's a good 5th centre back / backup right back choice to have. I would include a recall clause in it, just to protect us. So let's say everything goes to shit, we can just say, sorry, we need him back. Like
Lax out, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we could do that. But I think you can do that with a loan, right? Isn't the whole point like, hold on to him until we want him back? No,
some loans don't have recall clauses, which I think is daft, because you're doing the other club a favour, really, by lending them. And it's like, sorry, things have changed. You just have to pay a penalty sometimes. You have to pay a fee for terminating it early.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I think you're right. He needs to develop. And if we get like Dallo back or something like that, then he's probably not going to play too much. So, and if Gabi has been playing as a right back all preseason, I don't know if that's just because we didn't have anyone to do it or not, or if that's like some tactical switch that they're making. Then there's not really a spot for all these guys on the roster, So, he's okay with the loan.
Yeah, the Gabia thing was just purely because Calabria's been injured. Kalulu's at the Olympics. We've actually loaned Ricardo Ordi out somewhere as well, so we just didn't have a right back. But he did an all right job there, to be fair.
We've had Conte, but we know what Conte's like, isn't
it? Yeah. He's not fit, is he? Like,
I mean, I was going to say, if he's actually not someone I kind of feel like with the whole amount of players we have at certain positions, Conte, in this strange way, I wouldn't be surprised if he stays for next year if we don't get Dalot and we loan out Kalulu. And I don't know, but I don't really want that. That's a crap idea. But I wouldn't mind Kalulu getting loaned out because he clearly is lacking sort of first team experience. We saw that at the Olympics with youngster mistakes, but it is what it is. Yeah, and yeah, just get him out alone, really. Just get him some
Mm.
experience. Was there anyone else you said? I can't remember.
No, that's it. The
Kalulu.
Kalulu thing's interesting as well because we signed him at the age of 20 when he'd never played a senior game for Lyon, which is kind of mad at the age of 20.
Yeah.
You know, normally if
he
you're
has looked
worth
good.
he has, exactly.
Yeah.
But he's still
Encouraging.
stuck on a handful of senior games in his career. And that needs to change. And at the moment, it ain't going to change. So something.
I mean, technically, he's a one-club man right now. If we want to just never let him go, you know, he could be a legend. Who knows?
Him and Daniel Maldini for the next 15 years. Brilliant. Last question. We kind of talked about it, to be fair, but no, we didn't talk about it at all. I want to mention this because it's apparently close to happening. Christian Espinoza says we're linked with Chaka Traore from Parma. Do you rate him? Looks like an exciting prospect. Now, as a disclaimer to this, I think he's played once in Serie A. He made his debut against us. He plays as a left winger.
3 times.
Has he played 3 times? Well, there you go.
A combined 16 minutes of football. So
there you go. So yeah, do we know anything about him? No, we don't. However, he must be pretty highly rated to make his debut at 16. He would be. The reason that I mention it is, as a broader point, we seem to be targeting a lot of these teenage players to come in and bolster the Primavera. And I think it's not brain surgery or anything, but I think it's purely because the Primavera are going to be in the UEFA Youth League next season. So all of a sudden, we've gone from just playing shitty Primavera First Division football to all of a sudden we're going to be competing against the best academies in Europe now. So I think that they've realised, oh no, the batch of players that we've got at the moment are not good enough. Like, they're a mid-table team in the Primavera, and that shouldn't be the case for a club like us with the legends we've produced and stuff. But you've got the likes of Pierre Duomo, who might be coming from Genk, Warren Bondo from, I think it's Nancy-Lorraine or something in France. And now the link with this guy who's also very highly rated. I think we're committing to it. I think we're saying, look, the academy's needed an overhaul for some time now. The best thing we can do is make ourselves serious in the short term, and then we're more attractive for other top talent. So I'm fully behind it because these are low-cost investments as well. We're talking a few 100,000. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's a quick flip strategy again. So if they come around, they might impress, they might not. We either sell them for profit or they just go away.
Or they become amazing, you know? Sometimes it happens that way.
Yeah. I mean, by YouTube sources, he's been dubbed the next Neymar.
I love them ones, me. I saw the Caio Jorge one that said the next Shevchenko, and I'm like, they're not even remotely similar players at all.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't be more different.
It's quite funny when you look on YouTube. But like, I mean, there's not much to judge this kid off. He's 16 years old. You know, I can't remember what I was doing when I was 16 years old, playing Call of Duty, Modern Warfare or something like that. But like, I mean, he looks, you know, intrigued. Like the other day,
hey, that's me at 28 still. I did that yesterday for like 6 hours.
He's played.
I was living at home.
Serie A. He's played in Serie A, and that's fantastic for a kid of his age. Obviously, Parma were absolutely dreadful last year, so they kind of thought, why not, and played him towards the end of the season. You know, it's a good player to get in, and like I said, I admire the strategy that we're doing. €1 million, if that's the case for the deal. You know, it's another sort of quick flip, because you never know, by the time he's 21 years old, then we might get a bid for €10 million for him or something like that. So it's good that we're bolstering the Primavera as well, which has been quite underperforming. So yeah, not bad.
Great. Yeah, I think that's a good place to end it, is it? Yeah. Next week, then we'll have a couple of games to recap. We've got Valencia Wednesday night at the Mestalla, and then next Sunday night we play against Real Madrid in Austria. So those are 2 decent tests. Again, we're looking for match sharpness to increase and stuff, but that's all good. Just before I sign off, I want to say check our pinned tweet, put it in the description as well. Please vote for us in the Football Content Awards that are coming up back end of this year. We're in the category of Best International Club Content Creator. So you can vote via the ways that are listed in the pinned tweet, either through a tweet, tags on Instagram. There's a few different ways. We really appreciate all of you who've voted so far already. There has been plenty of votes coming. So yeah, let's hopefully bring it home. It's coming home. And yeah, thanks to the lads for joining me. I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. You can find me on Twitter, Ollie Fisher. It's written there if you're watching on YouTube. Anthony.
Yeah. Real quick disclaimer about next week. I don't know. We might change this scheduling, I believe, because at the moment, no one could actually make it next Monday. So we might record Monday. So look for next week's podcast a day late. But yeah, it's been
cool. Yeah. Sign off, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me again. Twitter handles there. Well, over here. You usually find me arguing with sites on Twitter. So yeah. No. To be honest, I want to announce my public announcement of a truce with sites. I love you. I've got love for Milan fans. So yeah, enjoy reading your tweets all the time. So.
Said through gritted teeth, but yeah, we'll try getting on the podcast.
No. Let's get this done. If you can, in the comment section below, and if you do follow Twitter, let's get sites on the podcast because I think it'll be a good laugh.
I saw his reply saying that he'd just get like dominated or something, and I thought, wow, he's not backing himself here either, is he? So,
well, he's been on Twitter long enough. He knows what he tweets.
Yeah, he needs his. No, I'm not going to say it. That point that AJ said, we will probably be recording on Monday next week. Reason being, we normally record Sunday evenings, and right now, while we're recording, would be half time, I think, in the Real Madrid friendly. So that doesn't make sense for anyone. We might as well record a day later and cover both friendlies. But yeah, apart from that, thank you for listening if you made it this far, and we will catch you in 8 days' time.
Conti, bella palla per Rebic, Ibra, Rebic, il tiro, gol!